Now we're moving on to foundation. I had a hard time with this one because I do love a lot of foundations from the drugstore, but these would be the top three. Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless. It's around $8. I have the shade 128 Warm Nude. There are 40 different shades to choose from. I can make this shade work pretty much year round. I just hate the fact it doesn't have a pump. So let me show you here. I have the Angel Veil too on this hand, but anyway, that's the shade 128 Warm Nude. It blends out. I put some on the back of my hand the other day, and just to see the shade, to see if I needed to purchase a new one. And this blended into my skin, and I couldn't even tell that I had foundation on my hand. So that's a good way, once it dries down, if you can find something like that, then you know it's a good shade. Just let it dry down completely and you'll know. There, I just did the same thing. I blended that completely out, and now my hand looks flawless. See the difference? It's such a good formula. The only reason it's not my number one is because it doesn't have a pump. That really bugs me. Moving on, the Revlon Color Stay 24-Hour Long Wear Foundation. This one's around $10. There's 43 shades in this one, and I use 250 Fresh Beige. This is very, very close to Estee Lauder Double Wear and how it wears on me. There's not much difference, to be honest. Estee Lauder Double Wear is a formula that I gravitate to, so a lot of the foundations that I love are very similar to that formula. This is very, very similar. The Revlon Color Stay Long Wear Makeup for Combination Oily Skin. It says 24-hour wear. This is a very good shade for me too. A little on the warm side, I would say, but very close. Let me show you. This is what the shade 250 looks like. As you can see, it is a little bit of a thick formula. It gives a really good coverage. I would say it gives medium to full, depending on how much you put on. I would say this one gives maybe more of a natural matte finish compared to the matte and poreless. So matte and poreless with the NYX Angel Veils completely blurred out. Looks very smooth. Here is the Revlon side. So see how I still have a little bit of shine coming through, but it's just more of like a natural lit from within kind of shine. Just very subtle. That's the only difference between those two. Very good formulas. Both wear very, very well, and I would recommend either or. The Maybelline, of course, is a little bit cheaper, but number one pick is going to be the Catrice True Skin Hydrating Foundation. It's $10, and there are 20 shades to choose from. Now, I wish the shade range was bigger, and I wish it was more accessible. You can only get it at Catrice website or Amazon. The fact that it's not as accessible as the other ones is a bummer, but I still prefer this formula. Something about it is just, it's the top. It's the best. I don't know how to explain it, but let me try to show you. When you have 4 shades, that's how you know you love a foundation right there. I have 20 Warm Beige. I have the shade 30 Neutral Sand, which is the most neutral of all of these. See? I mean, it's very, very neutral. Then I have 40 Neutral Hazel, which is neutral, but also a little bit olive undertoned. And then this one is 40, I'll have to put it on screen, 42, 43, something like that, but 43 Neutral Macchiato. This is pretty much my perfect shade, which is weird because Neutral Hazel in 40 is actually darker than this 43. Let me see if I can show you. I'm going to pump out Neutral Hazel first, which is 40. What the packaging looks like. It's very, very good packaging. It's $10. I can't get over that. Okay, so Neutral Hazel. You can see it's a thinner formula. It's not runny. It's just a thinner formula. Okay, but I don't want to blend this all the way out yet. I just wanted to show you that's Neutral Hazel, which is 40. I'm going to put Neutral Macchiato right beside it, which is 43. Neutral Macchiato and Neutral Hazel. So the difference is Neutral Macchiato is more of a neutral beige, maybe a cooler pink undertone to where neutral hazel has more of the neutral yellow undertone. So if you need something with a little bit more pink in it, I would definitely suggest macchiato, just so you can see the difference there. Macchiato versus hazel. Hazel has more yellow, macchiato is more pink. The reason I have the other two shades is because if I need to mix, say I'm a little bit too light for neutral macchiato, I can mix some of these. And I've found that mixing the neutral sand with anything helps really neutralize it. This is a hydrating foundation. It's in the name for a reason, but it's kind of like, okay, so for me, the Cali Ray primer that is a blurring primer, it's also a hydrating primer. That's what I'm wearing today. It gives you hydration throughout the day, but it still blurs your pores. This is the same thing. So it has hydration in it, but still gives you that like matte blurred finish, and it lasts all day. So it gives you like what you would, I guess, say is a natural matte finish. It's stunning. It wears so well, and I absolutely love the formula. That's definitely my number one pick. I just, like I said, I wish it was a little bit more easy to find, but hopefully that will help you with some shade references. So 30 neutral sand, so neutral, like very, very neutral. I feel like it would work for a lot of skin tones. You can make that work, you know what I mean? It doesn't pull too cool, too yellow. It's very, very good. And then the warm beige right beside it has more yellow to it. As you can see, I like to have these two to help lighten up any other ones. One of my favorite ways to use this foundation is to mix it with other ones. If I have a foundation that I'm not really loving, whether it be the finish or the wear time or the shade, anything, I can mix Catrice with it and it'll make it work that much better. I swear it's so good. Okay, I gotta move on. I could talk about that all day. We're gonna go into like cream contours, liquid contours, and bronzers. I just kind of grouped these together because this video would be way too long if I didn't. So the first one I want to talk about is the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Bronzer Contours. I have two shades. I have light and I have light medium. They're $7. There are 10 shades to choose from. And again, I have shades 3 and 4. These are really, really good. The shade light is a little bit more warm on me, but I love light medium. I will say, I feel like light medium has a little bit more sheen to it, but I still really love it. It looks scary dark, but on the skin, it's not. So let me just show you. I'm going to do one dot of each on my hand here, and they are very pigmented. So I would treat these as if they were like the Rare Beauty blushes. Just go very light with them and then build as needed. But here you can see the two shades. We have light and light medium. That little dot created a lot. So that's literally all you need. And as you can see, they do give a little bit of radiance to the skin. They do dry down, but I'll leave them there until I show you the other ones. All right, moving on. The e.l.f. Halo Glow Contour Beauty Wands. These are $9. I have the shade light medium, and there are only 5 shades in this. I wish they would expand that because this is a really good formula. It's so close to Charlotte Tilbury, I honestly couldn't tell you much of a difference. Maybe just the shade, but it has a little poof, and you put it out there and you can see it looks very similar to the light shade from e.l.f. Well, these are both e.l.f., but it looks very similar to the light shade from the liquid camo. But these, honestly, other than the packaging, I don't see much of a difference on the skin. They're really, really good options, either one. I feel like this one dries down more of a natural finish, and it feels a little bit more, this one has a little bit more tack to it than these, but either one, really, really good. And then the ColourPop Soul Face and Body Bronzing Balm, I have mine in the shade medium. There are 7 shades. You can only get this, as far as I know, you can only get it from the ColourPop website. I haven't looked at Ulta, but it's possible, I guess. But this, you have to go to, when you go on ColourPop's website, it's kind of hard to find. You have to go down to like skincare, I think, or maybe body. I don't really know, but it's not in the makeup category, which is weird. But I guess where it's for face and body. But I don't know how to say this. It's kind of a drier cream formula. I don't want it to sound like a bad thing because it's not. It's actually really good, especially if you have oily skin. This formula, it's thick, so it grips to the skin. I'm going to put it right here. That's the shade medium. And as you can see, it's very close to all the light shades, a little bit lighter than the light medium. But this one dries down the most matte. So I really enjoy this formula. It blurs my texture. It's so smoothing. It's a really, really good bronzing balm. And I just love the finish of it. It dries down so smooth. It's really, really good. My number one pick is hard, but I've just loved this wand from e.l.f. for so long. That would have to be my number one pick, just because the ColourPop's a little bit harder to attain. If you're not a fan of shopping online, they only have 7 shades, and that might be hard for you to choose from. I don't know. I think because of that, I would have to say the e.l.f. Beauty Wand would be my number one pick. But that was hard for me to choose. That was really hard. I would say an honorable mention, though, from ColourPop, if you've not tried their bronze sticks. I have the shade La Jolla Cove, and it's really good, too. Like, I love the shade. It's a very natural bronzer on me, and it blends so nice. It's not quite as smoothing as the bronzing balm, though. This gives more of like a natural look. The bronzing balm's just a little bit smoother and better for my skin type. But if you're looking for a bronzer stick that's affordable, I think it's like 10 bucks. I'll put it on screen for you. This is a good option. Moving into concealers. This was also extremely hard. I've got the NYX Bare With Me Concealer Serum in the shade Beige. It's $11, and there are 16 shades to choose from. This is phenomenal, okay? I've been loving this for years. I also purchased it in the shade Vanilla, but that was just a little too light for me. This is what Beige looks like. See, there it is blended out. It works perfect for me. Just bright enough for my under eyes, but also cancels out all the blue purple undertones underneath of my eye. It's a serum formula, but it has this grip to it, and it wants to stick down. I don't find that it's very creasing on me. I'm not going to say it's crease proof, but I would say this creases the least out of all the options that I'm going to talk about today, and it just gives a beautiful under eye. It looks hydrated throughout the day. If you put too much powder on your under eyes, it's going to look dry eventually, even if it doesn't right away. Throughout the day, it will dry down, but I find that this is my number one pick for concealer for my eyes, and I highly, highly recommend you try it out if you haven't. Next one I want to talk about is JOAH Perfect Complexion Under Eye Serum Concealer. It's $10. I have the shade Light Medium. It's light, medium, neutral, 055. So when you look on the website, there's like light neutral, that's like 035, which is a little bit lighter than this one. Only 10 shades. There needs to be more. I think, honestly, all of these I'm going to talk about, there could be more shades. But this, I purchased from Amazon. You can get this at drugstores like CVS. I don't know exactly where else, but those are 2 options I know you can find this. JOAH Under Eye Hydrating Concealer. It has this little poofy. I don't really like that. You have to twist it up. But let me just tell you. They changed the package a little bit. It didn't used to be this white and purple, but just so you know, if you've ever seen this and it looked different, that's why, but everything else is still the same. This shade is a little bit dark for me. I wish I would have got the light 035, which I've had before in the past. When I repurchased this, it was a bundle deal, and I got 2 for like the price of 1. But as you can see, that blended out, and it's beautiful. It's very hydrating. I don't get much creasing with it, and it does a fantastic job at canceling out the blue veins. Like, it's so good. So Either of those I would definitely recommend, especially if you have aging under eyes. And then the last one is from Catrice. It's the same line, the True Skin High Cover Concealer. Now I have the shade 015 Warm Vanilla. This is too dark for me. There's only 15 shades. That might seem like a lot, but really, when you start looking at this, they all run very warm. I don't know why, but I wish I would have got the shade 10 Cool Cashmere. And I probably will, because I do love this formula. Let me show you what it looks like. Here's what the doe foot looks like. This is the first concealer I'm showing you with a doe foot. But as you will see, this shade is way too warm. I can use this more as a color corrector and then use a light concealer on top of it, and that's the only way I can make this work. But when I do, guys, this formula is stunning. Like, it blends into my skin perfectly, but it doesn't give any brightness under my eyes at all. Actually, it looks a little too dark under there, to be honest with you. So it's kind of weird that a shade that low on their shade range is that warm, but I will give it to them. It says warm vanilla, so I should have expected warm, but I do feel like it's a little dark for that low in the shade range. But overall, NYX would be my number one pick. There are a couple cons, like it's in a pump, so you do waste a little bit of product. It's hard to judge how much to pump out. The JOA, the same thing. It's kind of like the packaging. That cushion tip wand gets all that product in it, and I just feel like it's wasteful. I'm just not a fan of that type of packaging, but those two formulas are great. I would definitely suggest trying either one, but NYX will be my number one pick. Cream blush. Honest Beauty 2-in-1 cream blush and lip color. They're $14. You can find it at Amazon or Honest website. I tried this on a whim. I purchased this from Amazon years ago and I fell in love with it. This is my second one. I have the shade Rose Pink. Now, it's very light, but let me explain to you. Back when I first started getting into makeup, I wasn't always this into makeup, but back when I started wearing makeup, I didn't really care for blush. Like, I had almost a fear of experimenting with blush on my face. I felt like it made me look like a clown. I still prefer nude blushes. Like, that's just how I am. But this is the shade that I was introduced to, and I absolutely love it. The formula is a lip and cheek, so it does have a little bit of a tacky, creamy base to it, but it does dry down on the cheeks, and it's just so beautiful. I love this formula. I love this shade. They do have a couple other shades that I love, but Rose Pink would be my favorite. They have 7 shades to choose from. The next option is Moira. So again, I told you, Moira has so much to choose from, so much. They have the Love Heat Cream Blushes for $9, and my shade is I Trust You. They have 10 different shades. There's another shade that I want, but this is the one that I picked. I wish it was a little bit more beige. This comes off very, very pink, and it's beautiful. I can make it work, no problem, especially in the spring and summertime. It looks beautiful. But like I said, I'm not big on bright blush. So I wish I had a more nudie beige option, something more similar to this. But the formula is beautiful. I would say the same as the Honest Beauty. It's very, very close. Very close. And then lastly, can you guess it? The e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blushes. I have Dusty Rose and Copper Etiquette. They're $7, and there are 12 different shades you can choose from. This is going to be my number one pick because Dusty Rose. Dusty Rose. I love Copper Etiquette too, don't get me wrong, but Dusty Rose is the first one that I bought, and I love the fact that I can put this on my cheeks, tap it out with this, like, specifically the Rare Beauty blush brush. Let me just show you. So that's Dusty Rose. I'm going to tap it in with this. It gives the most gorgeous flush to your cheeks without being too much, and it blends right in to where it looks like it belongs there. Like, it melts into your skin. Look at that. And it does leave a natural finish, but once you put a little bit of powder blush on top and powder, it just looks like you have a natural flush. I love it. Let me show you Copper Etiquette. Same thing with the contours. You just need one dot. That blended out to that. If you like a lot of blush, just start with one and then build your way up. I promise that's the best way to do these. They're very, very pigmented. This is the shade Copper Etiquette, and see how that has more of that nudie undertone once it's blended out. I find myself gravitating to these types of colors. I just love them. Love it. So this is definitely my number one pick, but Dusty Rose is my number one pick. Under eye setting powder, because I do my concealer, then I do my liquid blush or cream blush, and then I set my under eyes. The e.l.f. Halo Glow Soft Focus Setting Powder is $8. This is the shade Light. There are 6 different shades to choose from. It comes in this like nude cap. It has a twist sifter kind of thing here, so you can twist it and lock it. It's very, very finely milled, and it works really well for your under eyes. It's very micro fine and super smoothing. My only gripe with this, I wish it didn't have the sheen to it. It has a little bit too much of that. If it had just a little less sheen to it, it would be my favorite. But it is a good pick from the drugstore to set your under eyes. That's what the shade Light looks like. The next powder is from LA Girl, the Pro Brightening Loose Powder in Soft Pink. I don't know what I did with this. I had this powder and I'm pretty sure I didn't use it up. So I don't know if I left it somewhere or what happened to it, but let me tell you something. I really enjoyed it. It is quite pink, but once you put it on your under eyes, it doesn't come off that way. So don't let that pink scare you from this picture. It's really, really good. It's very micro fine. I like something that's super micro fine for my under eyes because I don't want it to cling. I don't want it to get too dry. I just want to use a very light dusting of powder under there that's going to set it. Sometimes here recently I've been trying the technique of using a pressed powder first and then putting a little tiny bit of loose powder on top, and it's been working really well for me. I've noticed that my under eyes don't look as dry when I do this technique. And you can see, like, I've had this makeup on long enough that my oils are really coming through. It's been 7 hours already. So that's good. Like, my under eyes still look really good for 7 hours in. And I used the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Powder and the Oma Beauty Trip and Smooth Powder on top. Just a little bit. And that's, I'm not going to tell you the concealers I used yet because they're coming up in a new video. But looks good, huh? Number one under eye setting powder from the drugstore is hands down the Hard Candy Sheer Envy Chilling Wonder Powder in Translucent. I don't believe there are any other shades. I believe this is the only one you can get. I'm starting to run a little low on mine. Out of all the powders I have in my collection, which is a lot, this is my number 2 for my under eyes. The Oma Beauty Trip and Smooth, I've been loving that for quite a while now, and that's my number 1. Like, I reach for it the most, but this is my number 2. The sifter is very similar to the e.l.f. This is super duper micro fine. Like, you can barely pick it up on your finger when you touch it because it's super lightweight. It doesn't leave a sheen. I don't know what the chilling part really means. I don't notice that it cools my under eyes. It just really does a good job at setting my under eyes without making them look heavy. I love this powder. Now I'm going to move into loose powders that I would use to set my face. First one is the Coty Airspun Loose Powder. It's $7. The translucent shade is what I use. There are 3 different shades or options in this. I feel like there's only 2 shades, but there's like a ultra translucent, or there's something else. I'll have to put it on screen. I can't remember, but there's a different option. And I think there's an unscented. I hope that I'm right about that. I was hearing rumors of that. I've never tried the unscented. I would love that because I hate the scent of it, but I love the powder. If you're looking for a powder that is going to mattify your face all day long, go that route. You wouldn't be disappointed. The next one is from Honest Beauty again. This is the talc-free translucent loose powder. Now, they don't have any other shades. This is not my number one because of that. If they had more shades, this would be my number one loose powder. It's so finely milled. I love it. Here's what the packaging looks like. It has the cap and the sifter there. This shade is just perfect for me, but if you were any lighter, I don't know if you could pull this off. Like if you were a fair skin tone, I don't know if this would actually be translucent on you. So I can't say that. I just love how finely milled this powder is. Let me see if I can get it on screen. Cloud of powder just everywhere. Can you see that? It's just coming out everywhere. Let me see if I can get this shine to be tamed a little bit with this. See that? Look at the difference. Just a little hint of powder in the brush. I tapped off most of it. Typically, I would blot the oils first, but just to show you really quickly, you can also just do this. And that, my friends, is the quickest touch-up in history. Such a good powder. It's only available on Amazon or from Honest Beauty. Now, my number one pick is going to go to the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Setting Powder. They're $9. I have the shade Fair and Light. I like to use shade Fair because it is more translucent. This is a translucent powder in my opinion. Once you put it on the skin and blend it out, like it looks fair right now, but once you blend it into your skin, it's gone. Like it's translucent. So if you're looking for a shade in this that you want it to be translucent, 5 Fair. There are 8 different shades that you can choose from in this. It's my number one pick. It's such a good setting powder and it's very affordable, which we love. We're going to talk about powder bronzers. Physicians Formula, the Muru Muru Butter Bronzer, it's $10. They have 8 different shades. This one's shade 2 and it's almost gone. I've loved this for so many years. It's very light. It's more of a bronzer on me when I don't have my self-tan. Like you can barely see it on my hand there. I can build it up. Let me see if I can build it up for you. It builds up, but it's a very light bronzer. And like I said, when I'm not self-tanned, this is what I reach for. Next one is the Milani Silky Matte Bronzing Powder in the shade Sun-Kissed. They have 3 shades. I wish they had more shades. Like 3 is nowhere near enough. And it's a beautiful formula. I use Sun-Kissed. I don't have this one anymore, but if I was going to recommend a really good bronzer, like a neutral bronzer from the drugstore, I would recommend this one. It's $12. I really enjoy it, but my number one pick is going to have to be this. And it's not technically drugstore, but you can find it on Amazon. The Haley's Resculpt Smoothing Contour Powder. I have the shade Medium. It's $20, but you can find it on Amazon on sale all the time. There's only 3 shades. And again, like what the heck is the deal? But I'm telling you, ever since I found this, I can't stop using it. I love it so much. This is a new one. I still have one in my collection, but that's what it looks like when it's brand new. Let me swatch it for you. As you can see, this one shows up way more than the Physicians Formula, and it's much cooler of a tone. It's a very neutral. I love this powder. It's a contour bronzer combined, but they call it a smoothing contour powder. It's the most smoothing bronzer contour I've ever used. To me, it's worth the splurge to have something that good to set down. It's so good. So good. That's my number one pick. Can't help it. It is what it is. Powder blushes. I can't find 2 of these. I don't know where they are, but the Catrice Air Blush Matte is $6. There are only 3 shades to choose from. I don't understand. But Spice Space, 130, Spice Space. Keep that in mind. That is the shade, okay? I've never tried the other 2 shades, but this one, it's perfection. I love it. It's so affordable. It's just hard to get. I don't understand these brands. I don't know what's going on, but Catrice, please, I'm begging you, be more accessible. Go to Walmart, go to Target, go to Walgreens, CVS. We need you, okay? Okay. Moving on. The Maybelline Fit Me Powder Blush. They're $6. Again, $6. I have the shades Nude, Mauve, and Rose. They have 10 shades to choose from, but those 3 are the ones that I have owned or do own but can't find. Those are the 3 that I would choose. I'll put them on screen for you to see. I would say Nude and Rose are my most used, but I do like having Mauve as a cool toned option, and it's somewhere in my collection. I just don't know where, but definitely recommend this formula because it's very smoothing. That's my favorite thing. I don't want the blush or the bronzer to do the highlighting. I want to save that for my natural oils or highlighter if I want it. Number 1, the Haley's Repop Smoothing Powder Blush. This one's in the shade Love Bite. Now this is only $16. I'm not sure why the bronzer is a little bit more expensive, but there are only 3 shades and I don't know why, but this is very good. It's a neutral blush. So if you're looking for a blush that can go with just about any look, this is it. It's definitely nude, but it leans a little bit more cool, but also is not too cool. You can use it for warm looks as well. I'm actually wearing it today, and it blends in with the bronzer and just looks beautiful. I've been loving this new Morphe brush. It's also going to be in my haul video, but the M202. Now this is a little bit of a powdery formula, so be careful. Don't pick up too much. But this brush, let's see if we can build a little bit. See that? It's so smoothing. It's such a beautiful formula, beautiful shade, and I just love it. So if you're in the market for a powder blush, go to Amazon and try Haley's Love Bite.